You work hard. You probably work really hard. And if you're being honest with yourself, you've been working hard for a long time. The paychecks have gotten bigger, maybe significantly bigger. And yet, when you sit down and actually look at your financial situation, something feels off, something feels wrong. Because the number going into your account every month doesn't match the feeling of security you thought it would bring by now. That disconnect is not an accident, and it is not your fault in the way you probably think it is. Here is what nobody tells high earners. The skills that got you to a high income are almost entirely different from the skills required to build actual wealth. And most people spend their entire career mastering the first set while completely ignoring the second set. They earn more, they spend more, they look wealthier. But the gap between what they make and what they actually own stays frustratingly small, sometimes for decades. Before we go further, there is a program linked in the description of this video. People who apply the principles inside it are the ones who finally stop trading time for money and start building something that lasts. Not everyone who sees it will be ready for it. Most people will scroll past it. But if something in this video hits close to home, you should at least look at it. The window to act is always shorter than people expect. Now let's talk about why this is actually happening to you. Picture this. You are standing in a store, not a regular store, a store where everything looks expensive. And you are buying things not because you need them, but because a part of you believes you deserve them. Because you worked hard for this. Because you remember the version of you who couldn't afford things like this, and buying them feels like proof that you made it. That feeling is real, and it is quietly destroying your financial future. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the single most powerful wealth killer for high earners because it is invisible. It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like a reward. Every time your income goes up, your expenses go up right alongside it. New car, bigger apartment, better restaurants, nicer vacations. Each one feels completely justified. Each one makes total sense in the moment, but together they ensure that no matter how much you earn, your net worth barely moves. And here is where it gets painful. Because this is not just about the money you spend, this is about the person you've been building your identity around. Think about the people around you, your colleagues, your friends, maybe your family. There is enormous social pressure in high-earning circles to look the part, to have the things that signal success. And stepping back from that feels like admitting something you don't want to admit. It feels like failure. It feels like going backwards. So you keep spending. You keep performing wealth instead of building it. And the years pass. Stop. Think about that for a second. The years pass. You are a high earner. You have been a high earner. But 5 years from now, if nothing changes, where exactly will you be? Will you have more saved? Or will you have a more expensive life that requires you to keep earning at this pace forever? That last part is the trap nobody talks about. Most high earners have unknowingly built a lifestyle that requires them to keep working at full speed just to maintain it. They have no financial cushion, no income that doesn't require their time, no real assets generating money while they sleep. What they have is a very expensive treadmill. And the speed keeps going up. Now let's get into something even deeper, because this is where most people stop looking, and it is exactly where the real problem lives. Taxes. If you are a high earner and you are not aggressively managing your tax strategy, you are handing over an enormous percentage of your income to the government every single year. And here is the brutal truth. Most high earners are doing exactly this. They file their taxes, they pay what they're told, and they never question whether there was a completely legal and strategic way to keep significantly more of what they earned. The wealthy don't just earn more money, they keep more of it. There is a massive difference between a high income and a wealth-building strategy, and taxes are one of the biggest levers in that difference. People who understand this build wealth faster, not necessarily because they earn more, but because they lose less. Every year you go without a real tax strategy is a year that a significant chunk of your earning power simply evaporates, and it's not coming back. Let's shift to something that lives in the background of almost every high earner's mind. The anxiety. You don't talk about it, you probably wouldn't even call it anxiety, but it's there. That low-grade hum of stress that comes from knowing your entire financial situation depends on you continuing to perform at a high level indefinitely. If your income stopped tomorrow, how long could you actually sustain your current life? 2 months? 4 months? Maybe 6? That feeling of fragility in a situation that from the outside looks extremely stable is one of the most confusing and isolating experiences a high earner can have. Because who are you going to talk to about it? You make great money. People would think you're complaining. So you carry it quietly while continuing to build a life that looks secure but feels anything but. The people who solve this problem don't just earn more, they restructure. They get very intentional about what their money is actually doing when it leaves their account. They stop letting their income determine their lifestyle and start using their income to buy assets. Things that work for them, things that grow, things that generate income, whether they show up to work or not. Here is a simple way to think about it. Every dollar you spend is a dollar that works once and disappears. Every dollar you invest strategically is a dollar that potentially works for years, sometimes for the rest of your life. Most high earners are full of dollars that worked once and disappeared. The question is not whether you can afford to change this. The question is whether you can afford not to. Let's talk about investing, because this is another area where high earners silently struggle in a way nobody acknowledges. You probably have some money invested, maybe a retirement account, maybe some stocks, maybe a vague sense that you're doing something with your money. But here's what the most financially successful people understand that most high earners don't. Random investing is not a strategy. Putting money somewhere and hoping it grows is not wealth building. It is financial wishful thinking. Real wealth building requires a specific, intentional allocation of resources toward assets that are selected for a reason, monitored with intention, and adjusted with knowledge. Most high earners don't have this. They have activity without strategy. They have investment accounts without investment knowledge. And the cost of this over a decade or two is staggering. Think about compounding. Not just the financial math of it, but the emotional weight of it. Every year you delay building a real strategy, you are not just losing that year. You are losing everything that year could have generated going forward. You are borrowing against your future self. And your future self will eventually have to reckon with the bill. This is not meant to make you feel bad. This is meant to make you feel something. Because feeling something is the first step to doing something. Let's pause and be honest about who this is and isn't for. If you are perfectly content earning and spending in an endless cycle, if the treadmill feels fine to you, if security and freedom aren't things you actively desire, then none of this matters to you. None of it will land. You can stop here. But if there is a version of your life that you think about, even occasionally, where your money is working as hard as you are, where you have real options, where you are not one bad quarter or one bad month away from financial stress, then you are exactly the person this is for. And that version of your life is not a fantasy. It is a strategy away. Let's talk about what actually changes when someone shifts from being a high earner to becoming someone who is genuinely building wealth. First, the anxiety fades. Not overnight, but gradually, as the systems take hold, as the strategy starts producing results, that low-grade financial hum quiets. Because now your security doesn't live entirely in your own performance, it lives in structures you have built that continue working regardless of what any single day looks like. Second, your relationship with work changes completely. When you no longer need every paycheck to sustain your life, you start making decisions from choice rather than necessity. You take the project you actually want. You have the conversation you were afraid to have. You stop tolerating things that aren't aligned with what you actually want because you finally have the leverage to say no. Third, the time. When financial systems are working correctly, you are not trading more and more of your time to stay afloat. You are reclaiming time. Real time, hours and days and eventually years that belong entirely to you. That is not a small thing, that is everything. And fourth, the identity shift. There is something profound that happens when you stop performing wealth and start actually having it. A quiet confidence, a groundedness, a sense that the foundation beneath you is real and solid and not dependent on the next paycheck hitting on time. This is what is possible. This is what people who stop running on the treadmill and start building real wealth actually experience. Not theoretically. Consistently. The program in the description of this video exists because this transformation is teachable. The principles behind it are not secret, they are not complicated, but they need to be applied correctly, in the right order, with the right guidance. People who wait until the right time, until things calm down, until they have more bandwidth, rarely act. And the cost of not acting is measured in years, not dollars. If you have stayed this long, something here resonated with you. That matters. That is signal, not noise. The link is in the description. What you do with it tells you everything about the kind of financial future you are building. The treadmill will keep running. The question is whether you're still going to be on it 5 years from now, or whether you finally chose to step off,